50 million years ago, two continents collided with unstoppable force. India slammed into Asia, changing the planet forever. From that impact rose the Himalayas, the world's highest peaks. In this thin air, Nepal was born, a nation unlike any other. Prehistoric giants still roam its grasslands. Isolated villages cling to its slopes. And above it all, the highest point on Earth touches the edge of space. Eight giants rise from Nepal's borders. The world's 10 tallest peaks, and 8 call this place home. A wall of stone and ice that intercepts the monsoons, births 3 of Asia's great rivers, and shapes weather patterns across half the planet. Everest Base Camp sits at 17,600 feet, higher than most mountains will ever reach. Yet this is only the beginning. Colourful tents scatter across the glacier like prayer flags, a temporary city where climbers spend weeks preparing bodies and minds for what lies above. The ascent begins in landscapes that feel borrowed from another world. Ice blocks larger than houses crack and tumble without warning. Aluminum ladders flex over bottomless crevasses. The Khumbu icefall shifts beneath each step, a maze that never stays the same. Higher up, the Lhotse face rises like a wall of blue ice. So steep that one slip means 4,000 feet of falling. There is no forgiveness here. The Hillary Step waits at the end. Near vertical rock with deadly drops on both sides. Climbers pull themselves up towards something beyond human scale. At 29,032 feet, something changes. The earth curves below, the sky deepens to black blue, and every breath feels borrowed from eternity. The summit offers what words cannot hold. Most stay only minutes before the mountain demands their descent, yet in those moments they stand where the planet ends and the universe begins. But it's not all triumph. Along this route lies Rainbow Valley, marked not by beauty but by the bright gear of those who never returned. The mountain keeps what it claims. The statistics are sobering. One life lost for every 100 who reach the top. At Thukla Pass, stone cairns stand in silent rows, each marking a climber who never returned from the peaks above. As if the climbs themselves aren't treacherous enough, there are more dangers around every corner. In the high peaks, avalanches reshape the landscape without warning. Tons of snow and ice thunder down valleys with the force to erase everything in their path. Even reaching these mountains is a gamble. Lukla's runway ends not in tarmac but in empty sky, perched on a cliff edge where pilots have one chance to get it right. The strip tilts upward at an impossible angle. No room for error. Yet this carved gateway serves as the only entrance to the world's tallest places. But when darkness falls, the mountains reveal their gentler face. The night sky shows what cities hide. Stars pierce the darkness with clarity that feels almost violent, while the Milky Way spreads across peaks like spilled light. And if you thought Everest sounded dangerous, Annapurna shows even less mercy. One in 3 climbers who attempt her summit never return. Yet thousands walk in her shadow along the Annapurna circuit. A 3-week trek that circles the entire massif, pilgrims around a sleeping giant. The circuit reveals Annapurna's many faces across 230 kilometres. It begins where rice terraces climb impossible slopes in subtropical valleys. Rises through rhododendron forests that bloom like temples. Then ascends to the moonscape of Thorong La Pass at 17,769 feet. Here, the air holds only half the oxygen your body needs. Prayer flags flutter against thin wind. The trek crosses 20 bridges, passes through a dozen climates, and near Kame, glacial water plunges down sheer rock in ribbons of white against dark stone. What makes the circuit remarkable isn't just the physical challenge, it's the cultural passage. Villages change from Hindu to Buddhist as altitude increases. as if spirituality itself grows lighter with the air. Some make this journey on mountain bikes, pedaling along paths so narrow that rocks tumble into empty space with each turn of the wheel. The most determined climbers push on even further. Tilicho Lake, a turquoise mirror frozen at 16,138 feet. One of the highest lakes on Earth, where water reflects surrounding peaks in perfect stillness. And somehow people have found ways to thrive in this impossible realm. The Sherpa people have turned guiding into an art form, reading weather patterns in cloud formations and finding safe passage through terrain that shifts with each season. They carry loads that would buckle most backs, fix ropes on routes they've memorized since childhood, and make decisions that keep expeditions alive in places where mistakes become permanent. Their work begins before dawn and ends long after climbers have retreated to their tents. Yaks move beside them with deliberate steps, carrying solar panels and rice sacks up slopes that seem to mock gravity. Built like walking wool factories, these creatures weigh as much as small trucks, yet navigate ice with broad hooves and thick coats. They pause to graze on grass that grows slowly in thin air, their breath visible in clouds that mirror the peaks around them. Scattered across these impossible heights, villages cling to life where most would perish. Dingboche sits at 14,469 feet, a village of stone walls and barley fields clinging to life in thin air. Behind its white stupa, Amadablam rises in perfect pyramid form. Her glaciated face catching light while prayer flags stream between earth and sky. Lower down in Namche Bazaar, blue-painted stone houses cascade down the mountainside like an amphitheatre. Market vendors sell yak cheese at 11,000 feet. Children play football on steep terraces where most struggle to breathe. At the village's heart stands a bronze statue of Tenzing Norgay, gazing eternally toward the peak he climbed alongside Edmund Hillary. life finds its foothold wherever physics allows. Yet beyond these visible settlements lie places the world forgot. In Upper Mustang, red cliffs rise from barren valleys in formations that seem carved by gods. Wind has shaped sandstone into towers that stand despite their impossible delicacy. Sacred chortens dot the landscape like white markers, ancient waypoints for pilgrims crossing this desert in the sky. The rock tells stories in layers of ochre and gold. Smooth formations curve like frozen waves, polished by millennia of winds. Yet in these cliffs, something even more mysterious emerges. The sky caves of Mustang rise like vertical apartments carved into limestone cliffs. Who possess the skill to hollow out these chambers? How do they withstand winds that strip stone bare? The mountains guard their secrets in silence. And where the physical world reaches its limits, the spiritual realm takes over. Tengboch Monastery sits on a ridge at 12,687 feet, its golden roofs catching light beneath Everest's dominating presence. Stone walls frame courtyards where monks gather in the shadow of the world's highest peaks. Here, meditation happens against a backdrop of ice and stone that dwarfs human ambition. But monks are not the only ones who have learned to thrive here. The red panda, resembling nothing so much as a living teddy bear, gracefully navigates bamboo forests at altitudes that would render most creatures unconscious. Evolution found its own solutions to what seems impossible. As we descend from these heights, another impossibility emerges. A fragile civilization built in a valley that never stops shaking. Here, 3 ancient cities have survived centuries of earthquakes that regularly rewrite the landscape. Kathmandu's Durbar Square unfolds like architecture from a dream. Intricate palaces rise alongside temples that seem to defy gravity and time. The Hanuman Doka Palace sprawls across courtyards within courtyards, each more elaborate than the last. At the palace entrance, Hanuman sits draped in vermilion and marigolds, his monkey face hidden behind cloth. Legend says his true visage is too powerful for mortal eyes. The Taleju temple towers above the square, its three-tiered roof reaching toward heaven like a staircase for gods. Stone lions crouch in eternal vigilance, manes flowing and eyes alert. The Kal Bhairav head emerges from a wall like a nightmare-given form. This mask of Shiva's destroyer bears teeth like daggers and a crown of skulls. So fearsome that oaths sworn in front of it are said to be unbreakable. Wandering through the temple complexes, figures in saffron robes sit in meditation beneath ancient eaves. Sadhus who have renounced everything the modern world offers in exchange for something it cannot provide. Their bodies smeared with sacred ash, hair twisted into locks unseen by scissors for decades. They represent humanity's oldest experiment in letting go. Some have walked here from India, others were born in these very streets. All have made the same choice: to own nothing, want nothing, and somehow find everything. Walking through these squares feels like stepping inside a craftsman's mind. Everywhere the eye lands reveals another detail. Window frames become geometric poetry. Doorways transform into portals guarded by carved deities. Even the humblest support beam carries centuries of artistic devotion. Beyond the palace walls, Kathmandu unfolds like a beautiful accident that learned to breathe. Narrow streets pulse with rickshaws and motorcycles weaving between ancient shrines. Vendors sell prayer flags from the same corners where their grandfathers once traded yak butter. Electrical wires tangle overhead like urban prayer beads, connecting medieval neighborhoods to Wi-Fi signals that flicker as unpredictably as temple flames. The city moves to its own rhythm. Temple bells mixing with car horns, incense smoke rising alongside diesel exhaust. As if chaos itself had been blessed by 1,000 gods and told to make it work. And somehow it does. Still, you may recognize this building, the Parliament, not for its architecture, but because recently it was set on fire during mass protests. Though Nepal is a generally peaceful country, its democracy is young, fragile, and still being tested. A reminder that in Kathmandu, chaos can be both blessed and explosive. The Durahara Tower rises above this urban symphony, like a white lighthouse in a sea of terracotta roofs. Its 9 stories offer the only vantage point where the entire valley makes sense. Built 150 years ago, it watched over Kathmandu until April 2015, when a 7.8 magnitude earthquake reduced it to rubble in seconds. Yet it rose again, rebuilt even taller than before. At Buddhanath, the largest stupa in Nepal rises like a white mountain crowned with gold. Its massive dome commands reverence from every angle. Inside the stupa's base, walls come alive with intricate paintings of Buddhist deities and celestial scenes rendered in vibrant colours. Pilgrims circle the stupa in endless procession, their footsteps wearing smooth the ancient stones. Each clockwise turn is believed to accumulate merit and purify karma. Movement itself becomes devotion. Colourful prayer flags strung around the dome flutter against the Himalayan sky. Speaking of flags, this is the only nation whose flag refuses rectangular form. Its distinctive double triangles mirror the peaks that define this land, 2 shapes stacked like mountains, representing both the Himalayas and the country's 2 major faiths, Hinduism and Buddhism. The flag flies defiant in its difference. Along the sacred Bagmati River, Pashupatinath Temple witnesses the eternal cycle. Hindu cremation fires burn day and night on stone platforms called ghats, where families perform final rites to release souls from the cycle of rebirth. Fire transforms flesh to ash while the sacred river carries remains toward liberation. At the temple's heart stands something extraordinary. A sacred lingam with 4 faces of Shiva gazing in cardinal directions. The main temple complex survived the 2015 earthquake virtually untouched, though outer buildings suffered damage. As if the sacred flames themselves had stood guard. The valley harnesses its rivers through concrete dams built to generate power. Yet electricity still vanishes from entire neighbourhoods for hours each day. These are planned outages to manage demand that exceeds supply. Ancient temples return to candlelight and oil lamps, illuminated as they were centuries ago. Living here may feel like stepping back in time, but the valley has its own relationship with time entirely. Nepal keeps its own time, following the Bikram Sambat calendar that places the country 57 years ahead of much of the world. As if this valley exists in its own temporal dimension. The relationship with time shapes everything here, past and present existing side by side rather than in sequence. At Ranapokari, the historic pond reflects both ancient temples and modern apartment blocks. Time layers itself in these still waters. In nearby Bhaktapur, time moves even more slowly. This medieval city feels frozen in the 15th century. Its cobblestone squares dominated by the Nyadapola temple. 5 stories of perfect geometry that has withstood every earthquake the earth could deliver. Stone steps ascend like a stairway to the gods, flanked by pairs of guardian statues, growing more powerful with each level. From wrestlers at the base to elephants, lions, griffins, and finally goddesses at the summit. The 55-window palace rises above Bhaktapur Square, its facade lined with carved wooden frames that have watched over the city for centuries. Among these windows, one stands apart, an intricate peacock carved in relief, its feathers spread in eternal display. Every detail is rendered so precisely that the wood seems to breathe with life. High above it all, Swayambhunath crowns its hilltop like a watchful guardian. The monkey temple surveys the entire valley through ancient eyes. Buddhist prayer wheels spin endlessly as pilgrims give them gentle pushes. Copper cylinders containing thousands of written mantras turn in ancient rhythm. Each rotation equals speaking every prayer inside. Devotion made mechanical, faith set spinning by human touch. Rhesus macaques have claimed the temple steps as their domain, bold enough to snatch offerings from pilgrims' hands. In Kathmandu's streets below, troops of monkeys navigate power lines and rooftops with the confidence of urban natives, treating the ancient city as an elaborate jungle gym built for their amusement. From this sacred vantage point, the whole experiment of the Kathmandu Valley spreads below. Three cities that have danced with destruction for centuries and somehow keep spinning. From this valley, a new road pushes south toward different challenges entirely. The Kathmandu-Terai Expressway cuts through challenging terrain, with construction crews blasting 71 kilometres of highway through mountains that have kept these two worlds apart for centuries. Nearly a quarter of this route disappears into tunnels and bridges, engineers boring through rock and spanning valleys. When complete, this concrete lifeline will transform a journey that once took all day into just over an hour. The road leads to something unexpected. Here, where the Himalayas surrender to the vast plains of the Indian subcontinent, steaming jungles and endless rice paddies stretch toward the horizon. Home to some of the planet's most endangered creatures. Chitwan National Park pulses with life that was nearly lost. Just decades ago, Nepal's one-horned rhinoceros had been hunted almost to extinction, their numbers dwindling to barely double digits. Today, over 600 of these prehistoric giants lumber through the grasslands like living tanks. Their single horn, once worth more than gold to poachers, now draws those who come to witness recovery. Here, nature's performers take the stage. The iridescent Himalayan monal flashes rainbow plumage like a living jewel. Painted storks wade through wetlands on pink and black stilts. Peacocks unfurl their tail feathers in displays that seem beyond reality. Even more remarkable are the Royal Bengal tigers prowling these forests. Chitwan holds one of the highest densities of these predators anywhere on Earth. Their striped shadows move through tall grass with deadly grace. British colonial hunters once staged elaborate expeditions to eliminate these man-eaters. Now visitors come armed with cameras instead of guns. At the Kasara Gharial Breeding Centre, hundreds of baby crocodiles bask in concrete pens like miniature dragons. Their needle-thin snouts perfectly designed for catching fish. These ancient reptiles, unchanged since the age of dinosaurs, nearly vanished from Nepal's rivers until scientists intervened. Now they're being bred and released back into the wild. Yet this conservation success comes with a cost. Villages surrounding the park live in constant tension as rhinos and elephants regularly raid their crops, destroying livelihoods and sometimes killing those who try to defend their fields. Progress here means learning to coexist with creatures powerful enough to crush a human without noticing. The elephants themselves have become both protectors and problems. Safari tourists still ride them through the grasslands to spot rhinos, though questions about animal welfare cast shadows over the practice. In Nepal, killing a cow carries a 12-year prison sentence. These sacred animals are protected by law as much as by tradition. But this protection does not extend to all creatures. And vultures circle where nature has taken its course, performing their ancient role as the cleanup crew of the plains. Across these plains, golden rice paddies stretch to the horizon like a vast patchwork quilt. During harvest season, the fields come alive with farmers wielding sickles in rhythms passed down through countless generations. It's in this landscape of ancient rhythms that something monumental happened over 2,500 years ago. Buddha's birthplace reveals itself not as a single temple, but as an entire sacred landscape. Pilgrimage has transformed these fertile plains into a living map of Buddhist devotion. In Lumbini, countries from across the world have built monuments to the man who changed everything by choosing compassion over conquest. At the heart of it all stands the Maya Devi Temple, marking the exact spot where Queen Maya Devi gave birth to the child who would become Buddha. Archaeologists have peeled back layers of history beneath the temple floor, uncovering ruins that stretch back to the 6th century BCE. Each generation of believers building upon the devotion of those before. Beside the temple, Emperor Ashoka's 2,200-year-old sandstone pillar bears inscriptions still perfectly legible today. Here, Buddha was born. Rising above the sacred grove, the World Peace Stupa gleams white against the endless sky, its golden spire catching light like a beacon visible for miles. Built by Japanese monks, it represents Buddhism's ultimate message, that peace begins within and radiates outward. Nearby, the eternal peace flame flickers day and night, tended by monks who keep the flame burning across seasons. The surrounding landscape becomes a pilgrimage through Buddhist civilization itself. Different countries, different traditions, one shared devotion. The Myanmar temple rises in golden tiers, its spires reaching skyward in the distinctive style of ancient Bagan. The Sri Lankan monastery speaks to Theravada tradition with elegant simplicity, while the Thai complex offers geometric perfection in every carved detail. In the Cambodian temple, Angkor-inspired architecture recreates the glory of the Khmer Empire, where Buddhism and Hinduism once danced together in stone. The Vietnamese pagoda tells its own story of faith, surviving war and revolution, its red columns and peaceful gardens bearing witness to Buddhism's resilience. East Asian traditions find their own expression here. From the intricate woodwork and painted dragons of Chinese monasteries to the austere meditation halls of Japanese temples, where clean lines and empty spaces quiet the mind. Each represents a different cultural interpretation of Buddha's teachings, carried across mountains and seas by devoted pilgrims. At the heart of it all, a massive golden Buddha statue sits in eternal meditation, its face serene despite the chaos of construction and pilgrimage swirling around it. This is more than a birthplace. It's the ground zero of a philosophy that spread across half the world without raising a sword. In Lumbini, the most powerful person in history turns out to be someone who gave up all his power for the idea that suffering could end. From these plains where philosophy was born, the journey leads upward into Nepal's middle realm. Between the death zones above and the fertile lowlands below lie the mid-hills, where traditional Nepal takes root. In places like Gandruk, stone houses cascade down mountainsides in perfect harmony. Their slate roofs catch morning light as prayer flags flutter between them like colourful conversations with the wind. Farmers tend terraced fields that step up hillsides in green geometry, each level a testament to generations who refuse to let steep terrain defeat their need to grow rice. Rope bridges span chasms, their wooden planks and twisted cables the only thing connecting isolated communities. Walking across them feels like a leap of faith, the bridge swaying with each step, while rivers thunder far below. Yet for locals, these bridges are simply the roads to work, to market, and to family. Mules cross these same bridges with loads strapped to their backs, their hooves finding sure footing on swaying planks. They carry everything from rice sacks to roofing materials between villages that roads will never reach. These sure-footed beasts form the backbone of mountain commerce, delivering medicine to remote clinics and hauling construction supplies up trails too narrow for vehicles. Without them, entire communities would remain cut off from the world below. But these hills now serve more than just survival. Pokhara has transformed from a sleepy lakeside town into Nepal's adventure capital, where the ancient art of survival has become the modern thrill of sport. Paragliders launch from mountainsides like colourful birds, riding thermals high above Fewer Lake, while the Annapurna Range provides a backdrop that transforms every flight. Hot air balloons drift over the valley at dawn, their passengers floating in silent wonder above landscapes that shift from medieval terraces to modern cafes. From towering platforms, bungee jumpers leap toward the same waters that have mirrored mountains for millennia, their screams echoing off cliffs where only eagles once called. On the lake's calm surface, wooden boats carry passengers between shoreline temples and floating gardens where lotus blooms mark the changing seasons. On the hills above the lake, another sight now commands attention. From Pumdikot's ridge, a towering statue of Shiva gazes over the entire valley, his presence casting both blessing and reminder. In Pokhara, tradition and adventure coexist perfectly. In Dolakha district, Shillong's rolling green hills stretch in gentle waves, unusual for Nepal's vertical terrain. From this pastoral landscape, one of the most incredible scenes on Earth unfolds. The highest mountains rising like a wall of ice and stone beyond deceptively gentle slopes. But the real wonder of these hills lies not just in their scenery, but in their people. Dozens of ethnic groups, speaking over 120 languages, have made their lives here. Hindu temples and Buddhist monasteries share mountain paths, and neighbours of different traditions tend the same terraces. In a world that so often fractures, Nepal shows how diversity itself can become a form of strength. It was also here, in the ridge-top town of Gorkha, that Nepal's unification began. From this fortress emerged the dynasty that forged the nation, and with it the legendary Gorkha soldiers whose reputation for courage spread across continents. Yet the endurance of Nepal has never only come from warriors. It has come from communities who refuse to be divided, from villages that endure together in landscapes that test every step. Nepal remains the oldest country in South Asia, never having fallen under foreign occupation. Yet for all its ancient strength, it is still a fragile young democracy. A nation learning to stand on its own in the shadow of giants. And though Nepal today still wrestles with its own growing pains, these struggles are only another layer of the same story. A nation that survives, adapts, and endures in the most impossible of places. But Nepal isn't the only place where humans defy the impossible. Around the world, people have built homes in places where life was never meant to survive. Click here to see that video. You won't want to miss it.